Last week's midterm election handed Democrats a commanding majority in the state Senate and left Republicans in the state reeling. Democrats now have firm control of every branch of state government for the first time in more than half a century. In New York, at least, a blue wave was very real. So now what? Can we expect a long list of progressive bills coming out of Albany right away? Or will Governor Cuomo put the brakes on his fellow Democrats? And for Republicans, where do they go from here? How do they move forward after a series of massive losses up and down the ballot? Joining me now with some answers is City and State Editor-in-Chief, Jonathan Lentz. Jonathan, welcome back to the program.
Glad to be here.
All right, so let's start off with the state GOP. Now what? Seems like a big question.
Yeah, well, two of the big things to watch right now, leadership. The state Republican chairman, Ed Cox, there have been calls for him to be removed. He says he's going to stay on. There might be a fight there. And also the state Senate Republican leader, John Flanagan. He had terrible losses in his conference on Election Day. There have been calls as well for him to step aside. Unclear if that'll happen. One reason to keep him on, actually, is if he stays on in the conference, doesn't even resign from the legislature, which he'd be more inclined to do if he stays leader, I think. That's one more Long Island seat that Republicans can't afford to lose. They already lost, I think, 6 out of the 9 seats.
Yes, it's true. So one of the problems that I understand was that they were having a very difficult time as Republicans differentiating themselves from the president right now, that so many people were tying all Republicans across the board to the president, and some people were saying that's where the heavy losses were coming from.
Yeah, I think that was actually a fairly effective strategy of Democrats to tie Republicans to the president. And to that point, you know, really how responsible is Ed Cox, who leads the state Republicans? How responsible is John Flanagan, who leads the Senate Republicans? You know, there's a case to be made they did the best they could in a year like this. And it won't get any easier. 2 years from now, it'll be a presidential year. That's typically where Democrats have done well in New York. So the idea that, you know, maybe Republicans could win a few seats back, it'll be a really tough landscape for them 2020.
Well, speaking of Democrats, they now control, as I said, all the branches of state government. So I guess a liberal might say, how are they going to screw this up?
Well, they've done it before.
Yeah, exactly.
After the 2008 elections, the Obama wave that brought in a Democratic majority in the state Senate, they did some things that was widely seen as focusing on New York City, benefiting New York City. And that's something you heard on the campaign trail as well. Republicans were saying that Democrats, if they win the Senate, they'll just help Bill de Blasio, New York City's liberal mayor. That time around, one thing they did was this MTA payroll tax. That was very controversial, something suburban lawmakers and their constituents really opposed. 2 Long Island Democrats in the state Senate subsequently lost, largely attributed to that. There was also a lot of chaos in those years.
But so you mentioned the MTA, and I know that's something that a lot of people in the city are putting a lot of pressure on Albany for. We even saw Cynthia Nixon's, pretty much her whole campaign for governor was about the misfunctioning of the MTA. How does Albany address this without seeming too upstate, downstate?
Sure. The first thing is congestion pricing. We heard that debate last year. It didn't get done. The governor has said that congestion pricing has to get done. It's really the only way you can address the crisis on the MTA and the subways. And if the governor wants it done, there's a good chance it'll get done. That's really the person to watch the most here. So the question is, how will different parties benefit from that or lose from that? Will suburban commuters driving into Manhattan be unhappy about that? Could that hurt some Democratic lawmakers? It might. So they have to figure out how to balance things out and try to make it so it doesn't seem just benefiting New York City. And that's not the only thing. That's not even going to bring enough money to fix the subways. You have to do something in addition to that. Bill de Blasio wants a millionaire's tax. Will that happen? That seems even more of a lift.
Okay. But are there any kind of progressive laws that we could see or legislation that we could see coming out of Albany that we might see happening soon?
Yeah, well, tying that into the previous point, I think it really ties to what is going to cost more, what's going to add more to the budget, what is going to raise taxes potentially. They're going to try to avoid those things. At least I think the governor is going to try to avoid those things. But there are things, gun control. You've seen shootings recently. The governor said we have to have more gun control, stronger gun control regulations in the state. Roe v. Wade. There's been a lot of talk about changes in the Supreme Court, whether that might be eroded. The governor said, we're going to put this in state law, so if the nation overturns this, we'll have it in place. That's something you could see happening early.
So I'm guessing those would be sort of like the low-hanging fruit, so to speak.
Right.
Are there any kind of legislation that we might see? Because we did see some people who got into state government who ran on a much more progressive platform. And I'm wondering now if there's any kind of legislation that they might put forward that we might see Governor Cuomo push back on and say no.
Well, two things. Rent regulations. You saw some of the more progressive candidates, some of them who won, pushing for strengthening regulations. The history has been every 4 years, this law lapses, you have to renew it, and they've steadily eroded some of the protections for tenants, made it easier for landlords to get tenants out of rent regulation. So you could see actually efforts to go the other way. The governor, who knows how far he'll want to go on that. The DREAM Act, that's another big push to help undocumented immigrants in New York. Whether that happens is unclear.
So, John Lentz, I want to thank you again for giving us an insider's view on how Albany works for us.
Thank you.